On today's episode of Word of Mouth, we're going to talk about events, the top things to do to get the most out of an event, and what to definitely avoid when you attend an event so that you don't make a fool of yourself when you're there. But join us today on this episode of Word of Mouth.
Get ready to improve your mindset, increase your skill set, and expand your network. Follow along as the CEO of Master Networks brings you over a decade of business networking experience. Welcome to Word of Mouth with Chaz Wilson.
All right, my question to you is, prior to working at Master Networks, have you attended many events?
Yes.
Or conferences?
They weren't really conferences, so to speak. Before I worked for Master Networks, actually before I worked, the place I worked before Master Networks, I was part of the AmeriCorps. So I worked in a nonprofit, and we did galas. We did a wine tasting. So they were events in a very loose sense. They weren't conferences or anything. But
yeah. I've probably been going to events for almost 20 years, like a long time.
Do you have a favorite one you've gone to besides our own?
Yeah, besides our own. I think it's not so much the event itself, like, oh, well, this company's events are better than the others. I think there's some things that I learned over time to do at events that really make events awesome no matter where I go or what they are, because I just do certain things at these events, which is definitely what we want to talk about today. There are things that people can do when you attend an event, kind of a top list of things you can do that really help you get the most out of an event. And it's up to you. Like, the event just magnifies that, but it's really up to the attendee to do make the most of it. So today, we definitely want to bring in our marketing manager, Katie, to our show today to talk about what attendees can do to get the most out of an event.
Well, welcome to Word of Mouth, Katie.
Thank you.
We're really excited to have you on, since usually you're behind the camera.
I know, it's weird being on this side of the table.
It's good. A lot of amazing people sit in that seat, so it's going to be awesome.
So good.
Yes.
So we had talked to Caitlin earlier today, actually, about planning events and how we take the attendees into consideration when we're putting everything together. So I think what we want to talk about right now is from the attendees side of things, like what attendees can get out of events, what the purpose of attending is. So what are some of the reasons why you have attended events previously?
I think with every event that I've been to, it's been either like education or a learning experience to better myself in like future events that I've helped plan. And then a lot of random robotics events that a past life kind of brought upon to me. Yeah. But a lot of education.
Gotcha. I imagine it's unique to each individual person, but
yeah, and the event, right? Like, what's the purpose of the event? And so how have you, from attending events in the past, what are you taking into what we do when we put on Connect?
I think the shift in my mind is kind of what we offer our members on a regular basis and how we can bundle that into an event that they're going to get something to take home with.
Gotcha. So is that something tangible, or is that something that's immaterial?
I think it's dependent on the person. Some people, of course, go to events for the free stuff.
That's what I was just thinking.
They love to check out exhibitors and vendors and talk with everyone and take home something. But a lot of people, it's going to be like what they can take and have that mind shift.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think in my experience, it's a lot of it's how much I've prepared for the event myself as an attendee. And so we have people who are coming to this event who've never been, they've already reached out and said, I don't know what to expect. I've never been to events. So when we put on Connect, we're really trying to go, what are the things that they should be doing prior to the event? And I think one of them is really preparing yourself to connect with others. Because if you go to an event, which you certainly can, and I have early on gone to events and just sort of hid, right? I hide.
Keep to yourself.
Yep. Keep to myself. I hide. I sit in the back. sit on the edge, the last seat. So as soon as the event's over or the session's over, I can leave. I definitely have not got out as much out of it by doing that. So I think at least my first tip would be come ready mentally, especially for the introverted people. Like you've got to warm yourself up, if you will, like talk to a few people on the plane or wherever you're coming from to just, get sort of that skill set ready.
Right. And you're getting those like jitters out ahead of time. Like, because it's intimidating to walk into a room that you've never been in before and not knowing what to expect, especially at an event as an introvert with a lot of people that are going to be there. It's good to like get those initial conversations out of the way immediately and kind of, because once you start talking to people, like you'll realize what, like how open people are to want to talk back to you.
It's like a practice run.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is also why we've always coordinated these social things the night before. So
right.
Like ice cream social. This year we have some cool stuff planned the first night so that people can get a chance to, under low pressure, more of a social gathering, get connected and meet people. I always think back, there was a real estate conference that I went to probably, now it's hard to think about it, but it's probably like 17, 18 years ago. And I remember they had it was a social thing, but they had some food out, and there was a gentleman next to me. We started talking, I think specifically about the food was how it started, right? Like, and I don't remember what it was, but he's asked me if I'd ever had something like that before, and what was it? And we started talking. And we built this friendship, said, well, hey, we went in, we sat down next to each other, started talking the next day, same thing, sat in the same area. And then for like 3 years, this conference was twice a year. For 3 years, so maybe 6 of them, we would meet up, text beforehand. We'd find each other. We'd sit next to each other at this conference. And so you build these friendships over time.
I had some people like that too at events that I have been to in the past.
Yeah. So I think prepping yourself for networking and connecting with others is key to an event, because you just, as we always say, you're one relationship away from changing your future. That person could be sitting next to you, in front of you, behind you, whatever. And if you're not open to connecting with people at the break before you sit down, you could miss an opportunity that's sitting right by you.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
You had mentioned a couple times that you basically get out of it what you put into it. So do you have any other tips for people attending events to maximize their...
Yeah, I mean, I think it seems like such an obvious, but some people come and they're not ready to take notes. You talked about education, right?
That's what I was going to say too. That was the first thing that came to mind, is like, you want notepad, pen, like not just, I mean, your brain can only retain so much information. And so if you go sit down in your chair and expect to like intake 8 hours of information, like it's just not going to happen.
Right.
You're going to walk out at the end of the day and be like, I don't even know what I just listened to. And then like you're not going to get the value of what you paid because you didn't take notes. Like something as simple as writing a few things down to spark your memory. It's so important.
That's also something somebody could take away from an event that's tangible is notes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think of one that I went to years ago, a conference where I went to the event, and it was just a place in my life where I was really open for some change in the business that we were doing with Master Networks, but changes in the business. And I got to the end of the first day, and I had taken a ton of notes. And a bunch of people were like, hey, let's meet up. Let's go out to dinner, this group. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to pass. And the reason why, and I'm not saying you, because we just talked about networking, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but there's going to be speakers or moments or times where you should, before you even go home, find time to take the action steps that you heard throughout from different speakers and say, what am I going to do to put this in? What's the game plan as soon as I get back? Now, you could do that at the airport, on the way home, and on the plane, whatever, but find time to not just take the notes, but debrief, put into action a plan, because otherwise it sits in that notebook. And then the second thing I would say is I keep these notebooks sort of in chronological order for all the events I go to. So I can go back and go, oh, wait, this one was 2 years ago. I need to go back further. This one's 4 years ago, and find those notes that I take at all those events. So I really organize that stuff.
That's a really good idea. I hadn't thought about putting them in order like that.
Well, because your brain kind of thinks already in that chronological order.
Well, and that was something else I was going to say. It might not be as traditional, but like to take pictures, because your mind will connect with the vision that you saw when you were there. And so if you have a memory of it, and it's just fun to like be able to look back and remember what you did and who you met. But I think that helps with like connecting the notes to like what you thought about and how you felt in that moment.
Yeah. So let's kind of recap. First one we talked about was be open, don't hide, network, that kind of thing, right? You have to be, you're not going to get as much out if you try to hide. And then the second one was take notes, be prepared to do that. And then, debrief and so on and so forth. I think the third is be present for me. It's like events where I have a lot going on at home that I didn't really take care of or find a way to cover while I'm gone. I'm never really fully present at the event. I'm always thinking about or checking in on my phone or whatever. But to be as present as possible at the event would be one of mine.
Yeah. Because it's easy to just roll through the motions, but if you want to like take something away from it, then you need to like be able to put your phone down and watch and listen and intake.
Yeah, that'll change your entire experience of an event.
Yeah, I've seen people in the hallways like on their phone the whole time. I'm thinking, why did you even come? Why be here? What are you getting out of this? If this deal's falling apart, guess what? It'll fall apart. There's not much you're probably going to save. And then how chaotic is your life if it is necessary that you're for 3 days on this phone call, like checking in on all this stuff. So what are some of the other ones for you?
I think just knowing that it's okay to like take a break while you're sitting there mentally, just with all the information, you want to be present for it all. You want to take notes, but it is okay to just kind of sit back and watch, because you're still, it's still helpful regardless. Be in the room and be present. Don't feel like you have to be on the whole time. That's
a good point. Like, I don't necessarily know how to do that, but I mean, I get what you're saying, right? To not be, it's part of being present, right? Is just capturing in and taking in the whole bit of it, right?
Exactly.
Ultimately, you're there to enjoy yourself too.
Yep. I think sometimes what happens is people come to these events, and so I want to caution people to come to the events not to connect and get stuff, but don't come to the event to try to transact business.
Right. It's more the relational over 100%. Transactional that you talk about all the time.
Yep. Because I've seen that happen where people are like, hey, we should have lunch together. Not at all with the intention to build a relationship, but to try to go do business.
Right.
And you don't even know if that's gonna happen. Now, I say that, but I also want to understand that you have an opportunity at these events to build a ton of relationships that could turn into business 3, 6, 9 months after the event if you're truly there building relationships.
Right. That I do have a question though about Connect.
Sure.
Specifically, when you were kind of creating your vision for the event, what was your ultimate goal for people to take away when they attended? And has it changed from your first initial thought to how it is now?
I don't know that it's changed. I mean, if anything, it's improved. Like it's bigger than it was, the vision of it. I think we've always felt that as an entrepreneur, it can feel lonely, right? You hear that all the time. I feel like I'm on an island and no one knows what I'm going through. It's tough. And so our initial goal was to just bring people together to say, let's share ideas. What are you going through? What am I going through, et cetera? And then enhance it with education. And I think that's still the goal. So that's why networking is so important for us at our events, because there's no reason you should feel alone when you got a room full of 100 people that are doing what you do. There's just no reason for it.
Yeah.
Unless you're hiding, right?
Unless you don't want to accept the information. You're holding yourself back.
Right. Or you're not connecting was my right. So you're not connecting with others. So, okay. So we kind of talked about, is there anything else on your list of things that people should do, to maximize the experience when they come to an event?
Not off the top of my head. But I mean, it's really just about all of the things that we're talking about, and then you just being open to learning. That's
a big one. You have to be open because they're going to say something you really probably need to hear.
And it might not be fun to listen to. Like, you might be like, I don't want to do that. Or it's something that someone's been telling you over and over and over.
It's hard to hear. Yeah. Okay, so what I want to ask the two of you is, you see from our side of the table, if you will, like the things that we're putting on at the event. What are the things that people shouldn't do at the events? Like that we've experienced it. I'm just saying, we're not calling anyone out. What are the things that we've seen that like are absolute, no, you should not do that at an event? Like there's just rules, right? There's rules of the playground.
Right.
Can you think of any of those that there are?
I mean, I think if you're coming and you're just going to sit on your phone with your headphones on, like not being present, listening to or taking phone calls like that, you're not going to get value out of an event at all.
I agree. What do you think?
I was thinking the same thing, but my caveat or the second level to it was going to be make sure your ringer is off in the
Yes.
ballroom, auditorium, wherever you're at.
Don't answer. Let it ring.
Or if you do take a phone call, having it on speaker, even in like the hallways. So it's in the same vein.
Or in the bathroom.
Or in the bathroom.
Oh my gosh. What is with people like?
I don't know. It feels like a common courtesy thing.
Right.
So in the same vein as be present and don't be on your phone the whole time. Also, if you have to be conscious of those around you.
Yeah, for sure. And if you know you're waiting for one, don't sit on the front row.
Oh,
Right.
Like, you know you're going to
Yes.
get a call. I've had that as a speaker where it's like, you know, the phone rings and then they're like stumbling, they trip, they fall down the aisle.
because
as
it's
they're trying
dark
to
and they
get out.
can't
Yeah, like,
see.
it's really, come
I
on.
think that's another thing too. It's going to happen, but just the constant opening of doors in and out.
Yeah.
Like, yes, of course, everyone needs breaks, like to stand up, stretch, all of that. But just the constant, like, we just need to be respectful of our speakers and anyone that you're watching speak.
The people you're sitting around.
Yes.
Like, I've had people who are very distracting.
Well, it's like when you go to the movie theater
Yeah.
to sit down and watch a movie and somebody is constantly getting up
Yeah.
and walking in front of you. Like, you
Yeah.
get annoyed, and so
Right.
we don't want people to be annoyed.
Right. They yell out and make a comment of every scene.
Right?
And you're like, oh, wait, watch this part.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the same thing can happen at conferences,
Yeah.
right?
It does.
I was going to mention for people, one of the things to not do is to party yourself so hard at night. Like, I've been to events where people have, again, I've probably been to 2 or 3 events a year for 20 years. So, a lot of it. I'd just say 50 plus events. And I have seen some people make fools of themselves, after, because it's after hours, right? At an event, there's no after hours because you're with people the whole time. And that's the impression they take. And, I know people will justify it and say, well, I'm just having a good time and stuff. You are building relationships. You just can't. If you do, I've seen it destroy reputations because
you're going to wake up and you're going to see the same people the next day.
Exactly.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the way that you act will reflect the conversations you have when they see you that next day.
I'll tell you guys a quick story that for me was one of the first experiences. And I was a young business guy. Like, I was probably 24, 25. So I didn't have a tremendous amount of experience yet and hadn't been to a ton of conferences, maybe 4 or 5. And we went to one, there's probably 12,000 people at this event. And so our group of maybe 100 people from our area, our region, our territory came down together to this event. So I was meeting a lot of them and they said, hey, we reserved this like karaoke bar and we're going to all go out there. Right. Okay. So we go to this karaoke bar and I'm just meeting, I've seen faces, but I don't know all of them. They don't know me. So I'm connecting with them. And there was this one gentleman who was having a great time and he and this other lady from the region were like, and I thought it was his wife. And this is what I'm telling you, it was a really hard lesson for us. So and I made a comment to somebody. I'm like, his wife or girlfriend. I was like, oh, I didn't know they were. And they're like, well, they're not together. And then we get to the airport. We're all grabbing our bags, and his wife is there waiting for him. And I remember just thinking, like, wow, just stop for a second and think, what do I think of this guy at this point? Okay. And I remember that lesson thinking, you can't like leave who you are at home and come to an event and act like a fool. So unfortunately, we've had it once or twice, even at Connect, which probably statistically is a very, very low number, but it's happened. And I just can't stress that enough to people, that you can't be one thing one day and another
because
time.
coming to our event, you're representing your business, and you're representing like who you are and why, and you're talking about like where you're wanting to go, and like your reputation matters.
It does. You think about all the work you do to build it up, and just in a minute it can be tarnished. Sometimes not by your own fault, that those things happen, but at events, sometimes it can be just your own undoing if you're not careful. So I say that. I know I talk about it a lot because I've just seen it. That's just one experience I've witnessed, and others. I've seen people just almost pass out drunk in the lobby where we're doing networking. And then, everyone's talking about it. That's what they end up talking about you about, not your business.
Exactly.
So, that's just one. What else? What else are things that they shouldn't do at an event?
I feel like we can't top that one.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, right? Like,
No, I know.
I mean, that aspect of events is real. Like, I've definitely seen it before. I think...
Can I give another one?
Yeah.
Like not being respectful of the staff and at the hotel or the staff of the event. Things may go wrong.
Yeah.
Don't be stupid. Don't like, they mess something up. I've seen that too. Like tickets got messed up or whatever. And I've seen people yell at the staff. It's like, that's definitely not going to get you in the doors.
And it's most likely not their fault.
Right.
It makes me think of like when I've flown in the past and your flight gets delayed or canceled and people are yelling at the customer service representatives and I'm like, they're not the ones that changed your flight information. Like and if you're nicer to them, they're more likely to help you
true.
And figure out a plan to get you where you were going. So you have to keep that in mind when you're dealing with anything like that at events.
Yep, agreed. Okay, I have one more. Sorry, I've got a lot of them. If you get the opportunity to ask a question in front of the whole group or get on stage, don't make it about you.
Oh, no.
Or like plan out your question.
Oh.
I didn't even think
As a
about
pseudo
that.
presentation?
People will stand up and they'll be like, oh, I didn't plan anything.
Then why are you here?
Oh, different than what I was just thinking. Yeah,
but also, yes.
Another facet of the questions.
Yeah.
Like, don't pitch yourself as well as make a plan. Like there's a happy medium between the two.
Yeah. There's been people in the past who every time there's a Q&A opportunity, they're the first at the mic or second at the mic, and it's it'll be like, "Oh, Katie, I love that comment. In fact, you know what I always say?" And then all of a sudden it's a 5-minute rant on them teaching everyone in the room. It's like, did you have a question?
Right.
No, I just wanted everyone to know how smart I was.
Yeah.
You know?
I love the ones too, like that don't pay attention and ask the same question as the person who just asked the question.
I hate that.
You know what I really hate is when people stand up and ask the same question. That's just right? It's so annoying. Especially,
it is.
By the way, especially as a speaker on stage. When you're like, I think I just answered that. And you don't want to make them look bad.
Right. You don't want to
And the
feel
rest
like
of
a
the
jerk.
audience is like, we just heard this.
Yeah. You know the phrase, there's no dumb questions? I'm not sure that's true.
Yeah.
I think there are occasionally.
mean, maybe the question initially wasn't dumb.
But the second time you ask it, it is.
The first time it wasn't. The second time it's really dumb. Yeah. No, I mean, I've had people where they ask such a specific question to their situation that there's no way possibly the speaker knows the context. And that's what I mean by a dumb question. It's like, there's no way you've put the speaker in a no-win situation where it's like, how would they know your situation to answer that question? So,
well, and I think part of the reasons people do Q&As is because the rest of the audience can benefit from one question being asked. If it's a super specific question, nobody else is going to relate to that. Yeah. That would be better for like a one-on-one conversation.
Yeah. I always joke that at workshops, not so much at big events, but at workshops when you always have the one in the back with their arms crossed. this guy's not going to teach me anything.
Yes.
You know, you always have the one that wants to hijack the presentation with their questions. You always have which I like. I'm not saying it's bad. You always have the person like, oh, good job. Yep. Everything I say is like, they're going to laugh at every joke. I like those people. But I often say, if you look around the room and you don't know who that guy is, it's you. If you're at the event and you don't know who in the room is the one with their arms crossed saying, this doesn't work, it could be you. So anything else to help our attendees as they're coming to the event to do or not to do that you guys think? What about bring space in your luggage?
Oh, to bring things home?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you are packed full and no space, then you're like, new book or toothbrush? I don't know. Like,
New book for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good one.
I
Bring one
Wouldn't
less
have thought
pair
about
of
that either.
shoes. And then
Right.
or you bring all the shoes in a second bag.
Shoes, though, that's
sh-
a good
that is
one.
a
Don't
good one.
underestimate
Oh,
the
yeah,
power
I
of
know.
a good, comfortable
I
pair of
just
shoes.
ordered my Connect shoes today.
Yes,
Yeah.
you
like,
need comfortable shoes.
you cannot expect to wear like flip-flops or I feel like always
Out.
a no.
No,
for
no.
events.
And they're
Nobody wants to
annoying.
hear that.
Good point.
Yeah.
Just be courteous of
You-
those around
Guess
you.
what? If you don't know who, it's you. If you're the one walking down the aisle, it's you. Yeah.
That was like a couple weeks ago when we did a hotel walkthrough. I almost wore these shoes.
That's
that
right, we talked
made
about
a
that.
flip flop sound, and I was like, I can't be that person.
Oh
No,
my gosh.
you can't. That's a good one.
Just flopping
shoes.
around the hotel.
Also, it can be cold in venues, no matter
Yes.
what the temperature is outside.
Yeah.
Sweaters or jackets are always recommended. And
Yeah.
like, don't feel like you have to dress up, but like dress to your comfort level. Like you're dressed to what you're gonna want to sit in all day, but also like be presentable.
Yeah. Anything else you have?
Oh, no.
I did think of one just now that I think is important. At the events, make sure if a speaker is off stage or you see them in the hallway or they're book signing or something, taking photos, don't try to hijack all their time.
I'm so glad you said that. I hadn't even thought about it,
Yeah.
but
Puts them in a very tough spot. I only say that from experience. When I've been I remember one in Georgia that I spoke at about 500 realtors. And I got off stage. It was just one of those speaking events where I was like, I really nailed it. And I just had that connection with the audience. And I remember a couple of ladies that came up and this group and they were standing there and they're, oh, but what about this? And what about this? And what about, and all of a sudden I'm like, there's a line building and I didn't know how, I mean, I did, but I didn't want to be rude to them
Right.
It
because
puts you in an uncomfortable position.
yeah. And so I just said, hey, you have a card. I'd be happy to set up a meeting and, talk through this stuff. Don't try to pitch them your business. Don't try to, just be courteous. If you want to give contact information, say, hey, I'd love to reach out to you afterwards, fine. But give them your contact information and give them the opportunity to reach out to you.
Well, I think everyone's time is valuable when it comes to events. Like the speakers, the staff, the attendees, anyone that you're chatting with. Like we're trying to pack in a lot of information, and so everyone's time is valuable.
Yes. Yeah. So, especially if you got people behind you in line trying to, like, all right, move it on, So, super helpful. And I just think our attendees, as they get ready to come to our event, hopefully a few of these tips help them as they come to the event. Just being ready to network, learn, be open, don't hide, and then be smart when it comes to behaviors. And how you present yourself at these events. So, Katie, thanks for joining us today on this
you so much.
episode. All right, before you go, though, we still have question time. We got to
Okay.
get to the question.
All right. So it's funny because I already kind of had this one in mind, but then there was a part of it where I was like, oh, this question works for today.
I hope so.
So it's a would you rather question.
Oh, I hate these. I'm just going to be honest. I hate these. Okay.
And it is, would you rather have all traffic lights you approach be green or never have to stand in line again?
probably, I don't mind waiting in line. I would probably say, yeah, all traffic lights green.
What about you?
I was going to say never wait in line.
I feel like for me, probably the green lights.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind waiting in line.
Oh.
But I feel like, I don't mind waiting at red lights either, but I feel like that could come in handy. Like if you're running
also
late
feel like
or...
the
That's
green
true.
lights are more realistic, and I think that's why I go that way. Because could you actually really be never wait in a line again?
But that's
Probably not.
Wait,
against the
wait,
rules
were
of
these
would you
questions-
rather.
Were
I
these
know.
questions based in reality?
No,
'Cause that's
I'm
the-
just giving my reasoning.
Although it could happen and be like, "Oh, sir, you're in. Yep, you don't wait. Come on." It's kind of like the fast pass
VIP for
at
life.
Disney.
Yeah.
Or like, at the airport.
See, okay. Maybe that's why I picked that because I wanted
Okay.
to feel special. You get a green light every time. No one knows. You don't feel
Everybody else gets the green light too. We're helping humanity.
Yeah.
No, see, I want to walk past her and be like, "Hello, see you later." Front of the line. In fact, I don't even have to wait. That's what I want. That was a fun episode. It was hard to keep it together. I'm just going to tell you, it was a lot of fun to talk about what we need to do at events for attendees, what not to do, because people take a lot of time and away from family, work, resources, money, travel. You want to make sure you're getting the most out of an event.
I mean, it's an investment that you're putting into both the event, but ultimately for yourself.
Yeah.
So I think having some respect for that goes a long way.
Yeah, and then just having fun at the event. Like, just, yes. There's rules, but
Right.
have a good time, because if you enjoy the event, then you'll come back and you'll keep coming every year, and it'll sort of be a tradition, a thing you look forward to every year.
Next week on Word of Mouth.
Try this with our people. No, this is what we do, and a lot of times we'll test things out with us first, and then we'll bring it to the group and say, look, this is our results. Cut and go.
One cut and go and plow through.
Yep.
And that's the
Yes.
mentality that you got to have. You have to have the plan to be able
Yeah.
to. You have to know your business, but you have to be able to be adaptable to your plan.